So taking the DIY concept to a whole other level was on Need for Speed. When I was asked to do that movie, I was very excited to work with Scotty Waugh again. He and I had collaborated on Act of Valor as well as about 60 or 70 commercials together. And we really fuel off of each other's energy and our passion for good action, but action that's done in a reality sense. He wanted Need for Speed to be a stunt spectacular, to be something that was real. It wasn't CGI generated kind of, effects. He just wanted it real in camera. So to do that, we were asked to assemble an incredible stunt team and stunt coordinator to be able to pull off all this amazing driving, as well as the actors to be able to do this driving as well. They all went to driving school. They trained so they could do all these different slides and drifts and everything, so we could put them in the driver's seat at 80 to 90 miles an hour and really make it awesome. So, with all this, the budget was kind of cut about probably 6 weeks prior to us going into production. And we had to trim the days from about 80 to 67. So we had to lose almost 13 days out of the schedule. So it was kind of Scotty and our job to come up with a game plan that still was able to deliver his vision and what he wanted, but to be able to work with this budget. It's the 33-33-33 thing. And I went into the producer's office and I said, I think this is all possible, but it's going to require a ton of cameras. And he goes, what's a ton of cameras to you? And I said, 50. And he goes, oh my God. And that's what we ended up doing. We shot with 15 C500s, 4 Area Lexus, 11 1DCs, and 20 GoPros. So the schedule, because it was getting shrunk, our 7 to 8 days that we had for our Mount Kisco driving sequence at night became 3.5. And we had to really fine-tune and do everything to be able to organize. So all the action sequences, all the races, everything was storyboarded. That storyboard was then put into a document in shooting order. And the shooting order had, the picture, it had the description of the scene, and then it had exactly what was going to be used to do it. So if there was like a shot of a low angle of a tire on the back of the Camaro, it was C500, rear tire, driver's side, 4 inches off the ground, 14 millimeter Cook S4 Prime with a Codex S recorder. So you would then give these documents, and they would all be in shooting order. And the shooting order went somewhat like this. It was, you would shoot pulling with either the Russian arm or the Porsche Cayenne with the camera system. So I would run, and we broke up the race in 6 chunks. We had the train, we had the section before they hit traffic, the section after they hit traffic, going through the alleys, the finish line. So all these sections were divided up. And with that, we would pull them with some kind of motion base, whether it was the Porsche Cayenne or the Russian arm, and we'd pull them down the street. And then when we'd go behind the car, we call that pushing. When we'd go pushing, we'd put the helmet cam on our Aaron Paul stunt driver, and he would do the whole section with us behind him, and he would be driving, and his helmet cam would be in there with his hands and the steering wheel and the dashboard. Then we would go into hard mount mode, which all the different hard mounts that were detailed in that shot list for that section. And then the final thing we would do is put the actor in the car and have him drive it. And we do each section systematically like this to make our days. I shot the whole sequence at 2500 ISO at a T28 on the C500, and I lit this whole sequence with 12 lights.
You look beautiful.
How are you feeling?
Good. You got the roads locked down?
Boat is clear. We are at the finish line, and Benny's in the Cessna. Liar one, you standing by?
Here we go with this again.
I wouldn't have to use that handle if you stopped telling people you flew Apache helicopters.
I took an Apache for a joyride, okay? That's all I said.
I know that's what you said. We just don't believe you.
Hey, man, look, just because I'm a crew chief doesn't mean I don't know how to fly. You gotta have balls of titanium alloy to do what I do. So I need a little respect, a little R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
All right, enough messing around. All right, what's the status? Liar one.
Clear, and this is Maverick. Call me Maverick, or I will kamikaze this into your nutsack.
Mind if I watch?
I got traffic ahead. Repeat, I got traffic ahead.
It's close. You got lucky.
It's not luck. He's patient.
bodied that guy's grocery cart. Sweet. Hey, yo, Father Joseph, make sure you save me a beer, buddy. Hello?
The Zolly, yeah, that's us driving like 80 miles an hour down in the tunnel and going from a 60 mil to a 14.5, just snapping it. The C500 shot every shot in this sequence in a 1DC. The Area Alexa I used for day exteriors because it has the 14 stops of latitude. I couldn't be in the car doing all the exposures because the director and the operator and everything was in there. I was back at pit row readying all the other cameras. So I needed to know that as long as they got it somewhat close, I could salvage it. So if there was any mistake, I knew that camera had the latitude, if the color temperature was off, if any, because it was a raw file. With the C500, it's not. You're baking that in, and you have to massage it like you would film. You can't underexpose it. You can't overexpose it too much. With the Area Alexa, you have much more latitude to be able to dig that out. We would dial in all their color based on the interior of the car, everything was tailored to the vehicle, and Scotty wanted Aaron to always be in slightly bluer tones, so we had these specific jackets and different types of colors that always had like a little blue tint to them and everything. But yeah, everything was kind of dialed in per the wardrobe and us working together, what the car interiors were, so they didn't all of a sudden get too dark in there and be too... because I was lighting them very minimally, right? So all I had was a Roscoe light pad with full green, plus green, and some egg crates that I cut from Home Depot to be able to add, so I had a thicker egg crate. It was 2 egg crates on top of each other, and that's what lit them. So let me just show you. Right there, the only light I added was the light on the church. All the rest is Macon, Georgia. We do a techno crane move down through into the tunnel. Okay? If you could believe that, Macon, Georgia. All those lights existed. All I did is change the color of them in post. I wanted the finish line to be green, a color that you did not see throughout the whole journey. It was either gold or blue. So this was green, and I wanted that to be the statement of the finish line. And immediately, you get it. Okay, we're here at the finish line. Everyone's in the da-da-da-da-da. So when they round the corner and you see those green lights, you as an audience member has already been educated by this fact. If we had used some blue lights or something that you had already seen down the road, then it wouldn't have the visual impact. So this is a creative choice. Now, hindsight being 20/20, I was able to black wrap some of these lights on the left side of the tunnel to be able to get this nice contrast, but we needed to go. We needed to go. On this movie, it was always, we need to go, right? You basically show up to call. Okay, we need to go. I'm like, God, I haven't even get my meter out, you know? No, we need to go. So I needed to black wrap the lights out of frame to create that same kind of contrast, but I didn't have time to do it. Okay, So he turns around, and this is 4,000 ISO, and I mounted a light onto the helicopter that I was shooting with and bounced it off the side of it. So that's giving just enough fill in the shadow side to be able to feel like moonlight. Okay, that street, all those lights existed. All I did is take they call it a dusk to dawn fixture from Home Depot. It has this little plastic shroud, and you can get a 70 watt or 150 watt metal halide. I put it on the roof. They're being keyed with all those LED, the daylight LEDs that were embedded in that truck. Yeah, that's lit up with like some little Kino flows, some little micro flows, all that stuff. Okay, this is just under the street lights that were on the stretch of road that we found in Social Circle, Georgia. 2,500. What we found was you could crank the ISO up to 4,000 ISO on the C500, and it matched the noise level of 800 on an Area Alexa, which is the native. We ran it through Dark Energy, that Cinefilm plugin, 2.8. And then the neon sign that art department brought in. There's an Ingenue 17 to 80. It gives you the Ingenue flares, the circles. Poof. Coming into this, that's just that light pad kit. So it's down, buried in the dash, all taped up. It's playing on his hands just like a dashboard would do, and it just brings up that level underneath him and in his eyes so they can drive under all the street lights and you just don't go into darkness. Okay, and then we go into Aaron Paul's world. So this is a 30 to 300 Canon zoom, and we're just pushing in right into his eyes. The sodium vapor, again, I shot this all at 4,000 color temp, so I could gold up those sodium vapors. They usually trim out at anywhere from 28 to 2,900 degrees. So I'm making a huge swing in the color temperature department to be able to make them more gold. And there's that reflected in his eye. Now we go in, that's 1DC helmet cam. The GoPro, that's actually the rigged camera that you see in the sequence where he goes, oh, that was close. No, he's patient. So that was just a prop. That shot right there is 1DC. Helmet cam. Everything's helmet cam. All the helmet cam is 1DC. This is 2,500. These are the existing train lights that were there. There's a techno crane sucking back. Oh, so I thought when I looked at the location, I knew I could get like a backlight or something over here if I needed it, but I couldn't get a backlight. This was a massive forest, and there was no way to get anything over there. So I was like, my God, how am I going to show the train without front lighting the heck out of it? How am I going to light it? So I asked art department to put these little red beacon lights on the side, as well as I hung little 1Ks that I dimmed way down in between the gap in the trains. So when you look profile when they're driving, you can see that they're driving by something. But watch this. Look at him go by that neon. See? He goes right by the neon. And that neon is reflecting in the car and on his face. His high ISO is so fun to work with. It's like a whole different style of lighting. See, now we're going by those trains If those lights weren't there, you would never really see, how fast he's going or any of that. This is one of my favorite shots coming up. This chicane through this bridge coming up right here. Bam. Right? Just happened to go right by a street light at that point with this low, heroic angle coming up through the wheel well. And then there's that low rear tire. Everything's, the cameras are so small, you can put them anywhere. Detaching. It's Coleman lantern. That marks where they have to turn. So it's their low Wi-Fi, that's their low-fi where the course is. Okay, he's got traffic ahead. We blow through here. There's some lights, some Home Depot lights I put up right there. Look at that. Okay, this is where it gets fun. So when you kind of play power company, okay, so watch this right here. Okay, right there. Okay, so I want to be able to create contrast, right? I don't want it to be all flat lit. So what I'm doing is I only want these lights on. I don't want the lights that are on the other side of Main Street. So we have these guys called the bucket truck dudes. And they happen to be called Bill and Ted, if you can believe it. And I'm like, hey, Bill, yeah, copy, Shane. Yeah, Main Street. I want about 8 blocks taken out south side. What? Yeah, 8 blocks south side. Boom, takes him out. Foosh. So now I don't have, any camera shadows. I can put my arm wherever I want on this side. I can go profile and they're silhouette to me. They're backlit. I can pull them. They're side lit, all by just light control. See, now they're darker to me. They're running underneath the street lights. See, if the lights were on, they would have illuminated all these trees. But now we have the contrast of like just this row of light coming down through here. They work with the bucket truck guys. They work with Macon, Georgia Water and Power, so they know all the specific switches, and they just start taking, or they just take a little wrench and go in there and poosh, pop the thing, and then we got to remember to put that back, right? And, we went to Georgia knowing that it was essential for this night race. 3.5 days, we had to own the city. So we literally just shut it down. And we controlled all the streets. I mean, right now he's doing about 90 miles an hour right down Main Street here. And then this is all natural light. This is all just the street lights playing along with the little light pad. Oh, look at all the nice bokeh in the background. This is 4K, but post at 2K. But look at that helmet stuff. It just, it really it's so real. And then watch the counter steering, how they have to, and okay, here's another good shot. So I had the bucket truck dudes take out that light, take out this light, take out the light that was lighting up this thing, so our eye was directed in the center, so this would silhouette, these edges would go dark, and we'd be lit kind of in the center. So it's again, creating your own contrast by turning lights off, then turning them on. Add a little shake in there to create intensity. There we go. Flying down the road. Goes by him. Woo. Look at that. He almost hits him there. This is the one thing that I really love about how Scotty likes to shoot action. He calls it expansive intimacy, because we're very intimate with the characters. You see a lot of those movies where they do this a lot. Yeah, I think there's some action there, but I think it's just me. Right? Where you're shaky cam and you don't know what the heck anything's going on. You don't know the peril. You don't know the geography. You don't know where they're headed. You don't know where they came from. You just know that there's a lot of this. Right? So with this, we would do these. They would get intimate with them, and then we'd jump back and see, oh my God, they're going through the center of town, and then they're going down an alley, and they're coming out an alley. They're about ready to go in an alley. So you get this nice overhead, and then now we're back down in it. And it's educating the audience that where they are, okay? A to B to C, boom, he's driving down an alley doing about 70 miles an hour, and it's Aaron Paul. It's not a stunt person. So we're tying him right into the scene. 1DC crash camera, and history, boosh! So this was on a wire. So we had this thing, and we sucked this sucker right up past the techno crane. So it went whoosh right after it, you know. This is one of my favorite shots coming up. You know, it's again this expansive intimacy where, look, we go to the shot with the Cessna, and we're tying in the homeless dude with his cart. Right? So we see where everyone is. Now, this was a very dangerous shot, which was a lot of fun to do. So we're coming down a street, and there's a building right here, so it's completely blind. So we're driving about 60 miles an hour, and they're counting us down. 3, 2, 1, and we pop out just as these cars come at us. Now watch how close the Camaro gets. Whew. Right? Almost just, they said it was about this far away from the lens when it swept. Now we go parallel. Now look at this. We continue to go down a parallel road and drive with them. There's another light that I love to rent, and they're cheap. They're sports fixtures, 1,500 watt sports fixtures that they use on the side of the road for lighting construction. They roll around on a 2-wheel dolly that's got a couple stingers, and you just put them into a putt-putt generator, and bam, you got area light. So I lit that area because it was very dark, and I wanted to be able to show speed by lighting the peripherals. So now watch this. Here's a moment where we see the green light way in the distance, so we know the finish line is coming up, but now we got a car coming at us. So this was a very defining moment, and I added this neon in this store just so we could really see the little juxtaposition with the car when it flew past it and then came back into it. And then we go for our Zolly shot. Woof. And then we're going with all this side by side, all the columns adding up. And then when have you ever shot with existing street lights and existing lights in general at 120 frames per second without changing anything? All I did is crank the ISO up to 6400, put the camera at 120 frames, and rolled with the existing light, not changing one light. And you could never do that before. You would have to have all these lights on scrims and on Musco lights, and you'd have to scrim them all down, and then you go to 120, and then you pull them all out and turn more lights on to be able to illuminate it. We were able to just lower the camera down, crank it up to 6400, a little more noise reduction, and we got the slow-mo shot at 120 frames, which is what the director wanted. So it's using the power of the sensor to be able to do these kind of things. This was all shot at 90 or 72 frames or 60 frames. 60 frames there. You had to shoot in the windows of, 30, 40, 60, and 120, or all these street lights would have flickered. But look at the depth here. You got the red, the green, the sodium vapor, and we shot this just as the sun was coming up. So you got that blue horizon and the train just having enough detail to see it go by. All right, so now we're moving on to fill light. What are the purposes for fill light? Shape in the face, separation, roll off, lower contrast, eliminate shadows, kind of open up the shadow area. Reducing drama, absolutely. A comedy would have more fill light than a drama, and a drama would have more fill light than a horror slasher like Justin's Stalker Cam, right? Okay, let's go into the greatest game ever played. Out of all the films that I've ever done, this is probably one of the most fun experiences that I've ever had, and some of my best work. If I had to take 2 or 3 movies, this is in that top 3. Just a bit of advice as well. When you go into an interview for being a cinematographer on a project or a commercial or whatever it is that you're interviewing with the director, go in with a point of view. Don't go in there just trying to, in hopes that he will describe what everything is, how it's going on and what's going to be the film and done through his eyes. Because he's going to ask you what you think of the script. He's going to ask you what your ideas are, and you need to come in being prepared. He or she is going to ask you all these questions, right? They're going to ask you, did you like the script? What did you feel about it? What are there things that you would like to change? Did you like everything about it? Is there suggestions? They're looking for feedback. They're looking for your point of view. When I went in to interview for the greatest game ever played, I walked into Disney Studios and up with Bill Paxton. And Bill Paxton is an amazing actor as well as a very, very great director. And we sat down, and it was one of those incredible moments where you knew your point of view was completely on point. And going in with that strong point of view, you can absolutely know and feel how the collaboration is going to be and whether you want to collaborate with this director. Because, it's up to you as well. You have to work as a team. So when I went in there, I sat down, and he asked me what I thought about the script. And I told him I thought it was an incredible story. I never even imagined that something like this ever even happened. And I thought that, taking a period piece and kind of flipping it on itself, not doing a sepia tone world and all these different, period piece vibe of the 1880s and the early 1900s, but to take it in a way that the style and the color was very different, and the camera moved in very contemporary ways. We weren't harnessed to what the period was. We could go inside the mind of the golfer, and talking with golfers, they said that they can eliminate the audience. They don't even hear them. All they think about is just contacting the ball and where it's headed. So we visually would do that. We would see a whole audience surrounding our golfer, and then they would vaporize. And then we'd go with the ball, and we'd go through the ball, and it had this amazing energy. So I'm throwing out kind of all these ideas, and Bill and I are bouncing these things off of it, and he's like, well, what do you think this thing should look like? And I said, well, I've been going through different things, and I think I've really found an amazing look for this movie. And the inspiration was Bound for Glory. I went directly back to looking at still photography. This is a book, America in Color, 1939 and 1942. These were found prints. 1,600 still shots were taken on Kodachrome film in between 1939 and 1943 during the FSA. Okay, so it was all those photographers out there like Dorothea Lange, and they had taken 1,600 prints, and they were found in some attic in like Kansas. And I just thought these type of tones would be unbelievable for this movie. Look at the gauziness of like the gamma, like the midtones. It's like, it's kind of, chalky, and then it falls off into just blackness. So this was like the inspiration, and I'm showing Bill and leafing through this book, and the stark contrast. I'm like, the interiors we can light like this, and just a really unique look, and it's not that sepia tone that we always see, and it just has these incredible tones and incredible color and saturation, and the blue tones and the cyans. And he says, really? So that you think this is the way this movie should look? And I go, yeah. He goes, all right, well. And he goes out back and is behind his desk, and he pulls out this book and he slams it down, and I go, and he goes, this is what I think it should look like. And it was Bound for Glory. Right? And I was like, yes. So I'm driving home that night, and I get a call, and it's like, hey, Shane, this is Bill Paxton. I'm like, hey, Bill, how you doing? How would you like to shoot the greatest game ever played? And I'm like, absolutely. So it's this wonderment of coming in with a point of view that I feel is very important. I don't like coming in with, oh, yes, we can do this, or yeah, we'll do that. It's come in with a presence. Okay, here's some more imagery. Love the skin tones, love the contrast, love the color. All right, here's the trailer for the greatest game ever played.
Francis, it's after midnight.
Give up this fool's game. Golf doesn't give a man what he needs to feed his family. You learn a trade and you bring home an honest wage.
He was born with nothing except a dream.
There must be a way for somebody who's not a member to compete.
You're a caddy. Golf is a game for gentlemen. It's not for your kind.
He was given no opportunities except the ones he made.
Those men don't have to earn a place in this world. It's given to them. We're not those kind of people.
But sometimes it takes an outsider.
Shot a 71 on the toughest golf course in New England.
To change the rules.
We're holding the U.S. Open Championship in 2 weeks. Your name came up.
I can't accept. My father needs me to work.
Awfully young to be giving up on your dreams, aren't you, son?
From Walt Disney Pictures.
Meet me here. Sun up. You got a lot of work to do.
The studio that brought you Remember the Titans, The Rookie, and Miracle.
This just isn't the sort of thing that caddies do.
All I want is a chance.
There's a lot of talk about the great English champion sailing over here to play in our Open. We all know Harry Vardon.
I'm the best. And I'll thank you to remember that.
Mr. Met, I can caddy for you.
My bag is as big as you are.
I can carry that bag.
All right, you can caddy for me.
What's that? A pygmy?
You got a problem?
It seems impossible that this untested boy could hope to beat one seasoned champion. He was a long shot.
Oh my gosh, that's President Taft.
How you doing there, Mr. President?
But he saw the game in ways no one could imagine.
He has a God-given talent. He's just trying to make you proud.
The man's a peasant. Peasants do not win Opens.
If Mr. Ouimet wins tomorrow, it's because he's the best. Not because of who his father was, not because of how much money he's got. Because of who he is! The greatest game ever played.
All right, let's take a look into the story. So this is what the stakes are. Francis, as a young boy, sees a clipping in a newspaper, and he asks his dad, "Hey, can I go see Harry Varden? He's the stylist." And his dad's like, "No, you go to school. You don't play the fool's game of golf." So he's all bummed out, sitting on the steps with his books, ready to go to school, and the mom comes out. Dad's gone to work, and she says, "Come to me to Boston, and you can carry my packages." And he's like, "Well, what about school? Come right along." So she takes him there, and they walk, and there is the department store, and you see Harry Varden's face on a banner, and she lets him go in there, and he walks through the whole crowd and sees Harry Varden take his shot up on stage, and he becomes obsessed with the game of golf. He lives right next to a golf course. This is all a true story. They live right next to Brookline Country Club, and he slowly, with the encouragement of his mom, became an incredibly great golfer. He won all high school championships, grade school championships, all these things, kind of with his dad, very busy, nose to the grindstone, not really understanding. Well, he signs up for an amateur championship, and the dad kind of stops him and says, this is not going to work. You got to give up this game of golf. And he's like, "I'm not going to do that. This is my dream. This is what I need to do." And he goes, "All right, I'll make a deal with you. If you win, then you can continue to play your game of golf. If you lose, you come home, you learn a trade and bring home an honest wage." He makes the deal with his dad. "Okay, I promise." So he goes, he plays in the amateur championship, the 18th hole, he's going to win, and he chokes. And he loses. This is the sequence where he's returning home after he's lost. And I'm going to ask you 3 questions. What is the key frame in this scene? Okay, so I want you starting to look at stuff now. What's the key frame? Second question, what type of key light did I use with Francis at the doorway? And the third question is, what did I do with the fill light to assist in conveying Francis's emotion? All right, let's dim the lights and we'll play the scene. Okay, we've broken it down, so all the other scenes, there's been a bit of dialogue and everything. This is pure emotion. So the building blocks of what we've all learned, now it comes to this. What's the key frame for the scene? That's the key frame right there. This over the shoulder where he walks in the door at that moment and looks to his mom first. and then walks up the stairs. Second question, what type of key light did I use with Francis at the doorway? The type of light, remember the 5 things. You had the, reflection in the eye, the wedge, the drop shadow, those. Eye shadow, right? So I brought the light around so it's creating that eye shadow onto his face to kind of feel a little more damaged and kind of ashamed and understanding the weight of the situation. What did I do with the fill light to assist in conveying Francis's emotions? We removed it. There it is right there. And this was where I was thinking of, this is hope, okay? And I'll kind of talk you through the scene in a second, but there it is where it's gone. Okay, the mom, completely basked in warm light. She's been the one that is there for Francis, that has taken him and kind of encouraged him and supported him the whole time. So I bask her in this very warm light. Yes, unbleached muslin outside there, absolutely. The key frame. Now, when I did this sequence, I lit this like this, and Bill Paxton was a little worried. He was like, Shane, what's going on here? I got to be able to see his emotions, and I got to be able to see the tear. And I go, Bill, don't worry. It's all going to be there. But I said, this is the analogy. So this is his dream. This is giving up on his dream. So darkness and the light. When I read this scene, it said that he walked into the doorway, the screen door closed, and he looked to his mom. So I'm immediately starting to put, okay, the dream is going to be the outside, the light's going to be coming in, and then I'm going to make this area just dark. And he's like half lit or with the eye shadow, so he looks damaged. And then we cut into his close-up, and he looks at his mom, and there's just enough detail. And that light right there was the light coming from her window, okay? And then she's like, and then to the dad, and you can just barely see that tear welling up in his eye. And he knows he made good on his promise, and he goes up and look how dark he is when he goes up there. There's no detail. Now, Bill wanted this moment in his room to be kind of a personal moment where he's taking in everything that he loved about the game, all of his playbook, all the golf balls, all the stuff that's going on, and he hears the roar of the crowd. They're still playing the championship, and he's right next to that. We go with him. One more glimpse of what he's giving up. I just loved the scene and the light and the way it feels here. And it's just ricocheted off the wall. That's what's keying him. It's all just hitting this wall, and that's the bounce light. And now he goes to his mentor, his hero, the one that inspired him. No light in his eyes. Okay? He looks down on it. And Bill wanted this glimmer of hope. Like, is he really going to give up on his dream? Is he going to just give it all away? And there's this moment, and Shia looks up, and I brought in this little silver card that I ricocheted off the 18K that was coming through the window and gave him that moment. And then he looks down, and then he crumbles it up, and then I take the fill light away. So his eyes just go black. And that's just diving into his emotions. So that's kind of, sometimes you take light away and you, again, continue to assist in this whole storytelling process. I cannot stress enough that it is so much fun to kind of guide all of you. So I'm really excited. It's one of my favorite things to do. All right. Excellent. Thank you again. Thank you. Yes.